Ladies and gentlemen, is William Ruto going to make history once again as the first one-term president of the Republic of Kenya? Because you all know that in 2022, William Ruto made history by becoming the first candidate to contest for the first time with success. Is he going to make history again as the first one-term president in the Republic of Kenya? That is the question which most Kenyans are currently asking. Because yesterday, Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Fred Okengo Matiang'i joined forces to remove him from office.
Na wauliza ruhusa yenu, sababu vile nimesema nimekuwa natafuta marafiki. Leo nimewaleta nyumbani. Fred amekuwa kule nje, ameongea na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo, ameongea nami. Na wauliza leo mnakubali tuweze kuungana na tufanye kazi na Dr. Matiang'i na timu yake? Leo tuko na Rigiji, the truthful man, the second deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Malala amenibia siri kidogo, amesema iko gari mpya iko inakuja, iko inaundwa, inatayarishwa hivi karibuni. Tukitoka Chui House, Rigiji atakuwa anatualika kwake, iwe wa Munyoro, iwe wapi, tujue jina la hiyo gari na tujue jina la hiyo chama na tusemezane naye.
I want to give my commitment and that of my team and our supporters, and there are many, they are in millions, that we are part of this team and we will walk this journey together to liberate this country. And we shall make whatever sacrifices necessary to make sure that William Ruto is a one-term president.
Na watu wake kama wanakubali tutembee pamoja. Lakini leo hata kabla hatujajua jina la gari lake, na wauliza wananek, munakubali tushikane na huyu Rigiji?
I actually took a paper and a pen and tried to calculate the numbers. The numbers are actually in favor of the other group, which begs the question, is William Ruto going to be a one-term president? Can this team remove William Ruto from office? The truth of the matter is that removing William Ruto from office is the easiest thing to do. William Ruto has lost almost everything. He has lost the narrative. William Ruto has lost the support. The economy is not doing well. You know, he has lost propaganda war. So William Ruto can be easily removed from office. But can this particular team remove him from office? In this video, I want to offer my unsolicited advice on a few things that this team can actually do to ensure that William Ruto will become a one-term president. But before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing which this team must do is to make personal sacrifice. And that is the hardest part for this group. If they can crack that bit, then they'll be able to send William Ruto home in 2027. What do I mean? We have Kalonzo Musyoka, we have Eugene Wamalwa, and we have Fred Okengo Matiang'i. All of them wants to become the president. Okay, let's remove Eugene Wamalwa out of that, because for me, Eugene Wamalwa can easily become a running mate. Let us focus on Matiang'i and Kalonzo. Between Matiang'i and Kalonzo, who can win against William Ruto? Who? Because let's face it, if Kalonzo is on the ballot, the entire Ukambani region will rally behind him. But I'm not so sure whether Fred Matiang'i can rally the Kisii fully behind Kalonzo. But if Fred Matiang'i were to be made the presidential candidate, the advantage is that the entire Kisii will vote for him. And by doing that, they'll deny William Ruto the much needed Western Alliance support. But can Kamba Nation allow Kalonzo not to be on the ballot to support Fred Okengo Matiang'i? So that is the biggest test for these guys. They must agree to make sacrifices.
And let us not approach this election with a predetermined mindset. That lazima ikuwe ni mimi ama ni mimi. Wacha tuseme tuko na kibarua ya kungoa hii jamaa. That is the first objective. Let us consolidate our votes, consolidate. Uzuri, payslip holders are 3 million. Na kila, every payslip holder has a minimum influence of 2 people. Those are 9 million people who have a personal issue with William Ruto. Sasa, ongeza Gen Z. Maneno imeisha haijaisha.
The second thing is the choice of a running mate. I'm looking at William Ruto and I'm persuaded that William Ruto might actually decide to pick a running mate from the Luhya nation because the mountain is gone. If I were Ruto, for example, having Professor Kithure Kindiki as a running mate in 2027 would not add any value. In 2022, he had to pick someone for the mountain because they were bringing the numbers. William Ruto expect the numbers from the Luhya nation, and therefore his running mate must come from the Luhya nation. But what about this team? If they pick Kalonzo Musyoka, who should be the running mate? And can that running mate bring the numbers? So let's assume it is paired. Kalonzo, the presidential candidate, Matiang'i as the deputy. Can it work? But what if Kalonzo is the deputy and Fred Matiang'i is the presidential candidate? For me, if Matiang'i were to be the presidential candidate, Kalonzo can still persuade the Kamba nation to vote. And of course, the determining factor will be then the mountain. And with Matiang'i as a presidential candidate, I don't see why the Luo nation will have a problem rallying around Matiang'i. So how they are going to pick a running mate? Because for Malwa, it's already decided that it's going to be Kalonzo Musyoka's running mate.
So ningependa kuambia nyinyi viongozi ambao mko hapa, nyinyi ndio mtakomboa Kenya yetu. Na mimi nasikia mnasema ati 2027 Kasongo paka aende nyumbani. Ningependa kuambia you have a responsibility to save Kenya right now. Hatuwezi achilia ati tuachie ujamaa miaka 3 aendelee kuzalisha nchi yetu. Ni lazima kama tunataka kumtoa hatoke saa hii. We must stop him from doing the evil things that he is doing right now. Hatuwezi ngoja hadi 2027 ndio vijana wetu waache kuabdaktiwa.
So let us wait and see. But the choice of a running mate is going to make or break this team. The third thing they must do is to consolidate their regional bases. Kalonzo must go to Ukambani and lock it fully. Rigathi has already locked the mountain, but he must sustain that lock. Fred Matiang'i must go to the Kisii and lock Kisii. In fact, I've been reading the political developments in Kisii. He's already locking it. Can Eugene Wamalwa lock the Luhya nation? He might not really succeed. But if you have the Kisii locked, you have Kamba locked, you have the Kikuyu locked, they'll only need the Gen Z factor. Because the Kikuyu nation gave William Ruto almost 47% of the votes William Ruto got. So that's how they will start. Because our politics is also tribal. And our politics is about the tyranny of numbers. They should never be ashamed of going tribal. Because our politics is tribal. So let Kalonzo assume the Kamba tag by consolidating the Kamba. Rigathi has succeeded with that. Matiang'i should also do the same. The fourth thing, which for me is the most important one, is that they must come up with a strategy of protecting the votes. William Ruto's hope for re-election lies in IBC.
There are terrible things going on there, like procurement, and they're testing the ground. We gather there's somebody, a former commissioner sitting as an advisor in State House, who is giving instructions to the IBC Secretariat. The country is watching, and they're testing waters. If we allow them to go on with the procurement, the next thing they want to do is even procure election materials for 2027. print them in excess of the numbers that will be there in order to further compromise the integrity of the election process. We also know that they have actually removed the server from IBC to some other destination. Well, that is not our business now because our main principles do not seem interested.
So which means someone will try to rig the elections. So they should be able, in my view, to come up with vote protection unit. So that in Ukambani, not a single vote will be lost. I'm 100% sure that Rigathi Gachagua will not allow the votes to be stolen in the Kikuyu nation because he was part of them. He knows William Ruto's game plan that time. Friend Matiang'i and the Kisi, can they log it? What strategies do they have in creating the grassroots networks? Because without a proper grassroots networks, you cannot protect your votes.
Because even there will be an election. The other reason they are delaying this whole thing about IBC is because they know now under the constitution you can recall some of those MPs. Wanaogopa hiyo kama kitu ingine. And I want to prepare our people. Now that IBC is there, tafadhali, mujiandae hawa watu wawe recalled. Because they have acted unjustly. They have supported corruption. They have, above all else, stood for a government that abducts its own citizens. And I want to pause it here.
The fifth thing they must do is resource mobilization. Money and money and money. The 2027 presidential elections in the Republic of Kenya is going to be the most expensive election in the Republic and in the history of Kenya. So they must figure out, where are we going to get the money? Who will give us money? How are we going to raise the money? Number 6, which is my last point probably, is that they must come up with a little communications team. Little one. The 2027 presidential elections is also going to be won on communication. So far, Rigathi has done a good job checkmating William Ruto in terms of communication. But I came across a video of a UDA blogger, and I can assure you, the communications aspect of this campaign is going to be expensive, and it is necessary for them.
In the month of September, I received an invite with a pin that led me to Moses Kuria's office. When I got to that office, we were about 12 or 13 other people. And we were given a brief by MK that there is a need for people to represent government on mainstream media, especially TV and radio. And they informed us that the past people who used to do that had long become government officials, and therefore it would not be possible for them to continue going on TV to do some of these black ops defenses for government. Okay, so let's get that clear. We went for the first meeting, we went for the second meeting. The second meeting, Moses Kuria left the group because Rita Oyer had now stepped in. She totally changed where we were going to be meeting. She said we will no longer be meeting in MK's office, and we started meeting in some hotel. Now, by the third meeting, some of us spoke up and said, hatutafanya kazi ya kujituma tena, because this was 2024, around that September. And we demanded to know how much were we going to be paid for that particular assignment. The team leader, who is a very senior individual, I'm deciding I'm not going to mention their name. At the end of that meeting, told us that she has agreed with Rita that we will be getting 100,000 shillings per month. Okay? And at the table, we showed our discomfort and our discontent because we felt 100K, and especially at that time, we were discussing the impeachment. And we said it very clearly that as some of us as Kikuyus going on TV to openly be seen to be attacking Rigathi was not an easy task. Tukaambiwa not to worry. Anytime any other ministry calls us for an assignment, they would demand for the ministry to give us 100K. So it was decided, take this 100K we're offering now, and anytime we get any other assignment, if it's of SHA, if maybe the treasury calls us to go and defend Adani, if I don't know, maybe agriculture calls us to go and defend, for example, the vaccination, then those ministries would top up that 100K with another 100K.
And the last thing is the Gen Zs. The truth of the matter is that the 2027 presidential election is going to be a do or die for the Gen Zs. They have a date with William Ruto, but they must be guided. They must be persuaded. Because if you joke with Gen Zs, then they'll have their own candidate. They'll reject Matiang'i, they'll reject Kalonzo, they'll reject Omalwa, they'll decide to go for one of their own. For example, Omtata or say Morara Kebaso. If that were to happen, their votes will not be in that basket. These guys need all the votes in one basket. Because one thing I know William Ruto is going to do is going to ensure that the votes are divided. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you think, but the biggest question is, can this team sustain the anti-William Ruto narrative? Because so far they've maintained it, they have sustained it, but can they continue sustaining it until the next election? If they'll be able to do that, then they're going to make William Ruto a one-term president. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.